Before I start grading the lot and setting the proposed grades, I'm going to go ahead and annotate the lots so I can see elevations and I can talk to you about grades. The other thing that I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go ahead and lay out the road work. So the first is just going to be a bit of CAD. I'm going to go ahead and offset to build my road to make it look like an AutoCAD drawing. Now all this is regular CAD. One of the reasons why I've left the proposed road in there just as a line, a polyline. So I'm going to send the alignment to the back. And here's the regular line that I built in the first place. So the reason I did this is so that I can offset it 10 feet. Let me get my snaps off. Turn my snaps off. 10 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other. So I'm going to build 10 feet on one side and 10 feet on the other. So now I basically got my roads. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. All right. The next thing is these intersections here are going to be a minimum of 25. So I'm going to trim and hit enter for all. And I'm going to get rid of this, 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 this. Then I'm going to come up here and get rid of this, 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 and this. I'm going to delete this out. I don't need that. And I need to see if I left any extra lines in here. Yeah, there's an extra line. Now, what that leaves me is with 90-degree returns. So I'm going to do fillet radius and I'm going to type in 25. I'm going to fillet this and I'm going to fillet this. Now it's the same as the 25 here, so it's going to look a little odd, but this is okay. Fillet radius 25. Most intersections to major roads are going to either be 40, 45, or 50 for like the size of tractor trailers because the car has to make the turn around here. So that's why the radii is 25. For the most part, little cars in a subdivision, the radius here of 25 is fine. Now the next thing that I have is I've got to offset this. I've got to finish up my cul-de-sac. So we said the circle, and I'm going to do it to the center point of this, was a radius of 34. That's how big the asphalt is. So I'm going to trim up the circle and these two lines. So I'm just going to get, so I don't have to delete later, I'm going to delete that out, and I'm going to delete this out. Now I've got to change this to a polyline, so I'm going to say p-edit, and yes. And then enter and escape. So I'm going to fillet this with a radius of 25. And notice I didn't type in the radius because it was already holding from the previous. So if I go fillet and I already have a radius up here, I can just pick the objects. All right, so now I've got the entire outside edge of my pavement. So here's the other thing. It's really important to make sure that everything is on a proper layers. So I'm going to go ahead and set, oops, grabbed the wrong one, this one and this one. And I'm going to pull this over so you can see the layers that I'm moving this to. If I move all the way down, I've got VC edge of pavement. It stands for Valencia College edge of pavement. Now, when you work for a company, they'll probably already have something set for the layer style. Now I'm going to offset 2 feet the edge of pavement on both sides, on the outside. And the reason is this is now going to be our VC back of curb. All right. Now I'm going to take this outside edge, the right-of-way line, and I am going to offset it 5 feet on this side and 5 feet on this side. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is now going to become my sidewalk. So I'm going to pull this down and go VCSW. You can leave the parcel segment as is, or you can offset that sidewalk back. It depends on how, when you get to drafting for a company or designing for a company, how they want you to set it. So I went ahead and set it. So basically now this is my entire layout of the road. The next thing I have to think about, and I may have some miscellaneous lines in here that I used for offsets. So the next thing I have to think about is the labeling of my parcels. Because here's the thing, the reason I have to label the parcels now is I have to know the distance. So when I'm grading the center line of the road, I can think consciously about the elevations that I have to tie into along this west line, south line, and north and east line. So I want to go ahead and do the labels. So, excuse me, I come up to annotate, and I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to go parcel multiple segments. What that allows me is all segments that I select on, or the parcel that I select on. So I pick this one, and it asks me which direction. I'm going to go clockwise today. So that's reading from the north to the south, east to the west, south back to the north, and back around. That's how it's reading it. Now, on this, I don't want to see all this information, so I'm going to actually come in here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a cleanup of your drawing too. I'm going to click on the label, and if you pull over here, it says segment label parcel, and these are the two styles. One's for a curve and one's for a straight line. Right now, the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to come down here and go create and edit. And I'm going to click the little blue box right here because I'm going to modify the bearing over distance. Now, currently the text height is 0.03. I'm going to change that to 0.05. Oh, I'm sorry. Notice here, here's the component name. There's a label tag and it was 0.03. So I changed that to 0.05. The bearing that what we're seeing is 0.05, so I'm going to change that to 0.07. And the distance is going to be 0.075. But right now, I don't want to see the bearing, so I'm going to turn the visibility. Instead of it being true, I'm going to turn it false. And with the distance, I'm going to leave it as is. So I'm going to say apply and OK and OK. So the next thing it does is it just shows me my lengths. I'm going to do the same thing, and I will change these back. So now I'm going to work on the curve. So I'm going to click the little blue box next to the delta over length and radius, and I just want to see the length. So I'm going to go to the distance and radius. I'm going to change that to 0.075, and I'm going to go to the delta. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 0.075, and I can just turn the visibility true and false as I go back and forth. At the end of the drawing, when we go to turn it in, we'll have to turn those back on. So apply and OK. But for right now, for cleaning this up so I can see when I'm looking at distances, I don't want a lot of clutter for right now. The other thing is for example, this text right here is just getting in my way. So I'm going to modify it. So it's on a layer. If I right click, I can go edit label style, and I just hit this button right here. It'll allow me to edit it. I'm going to change it to 0.05. Okay, and I can also change whatever I want to see. I don't need to see the offset station. I can modify these as I wish. So, and if you didn't notice this before, the label style composer always goes with information layout, information general layout, drag state, and summary. It always has these exact same tabs. So once you start working with them, it'll be a little bit more familiar. Okay, and okay. Oh, I didn't hit, the other thing is what I forgot to do is I forgot to hit apply. So station offset. At the dragged state, I forgot to change 0.05. Apply and OK. And OK. So you can see they're much smaller. All right. And I need to do one more. I forgot to do this one. So I'm going to label alignment, station offset, this station, shift and right click the intersection at this point, and there's that label. I need to know these so when I start to do the calculations on what the grading is going to be. All right. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and label the rest of the lots. So I'm going to label, alignment, oh, I'm sorry, parcel, multiple segments. So this might take me a bit. So I'm going to click here, clockwise, click here, clockwise, click here, clockwise, click here, clockwise. The other thing this allows me to do is I have to check to make sure that the minimum lot size is 50 by 100 because I need my 5,000 square feet. Almost there. If I'd have done this to begin with, then I wouldn't have to do this now. But if I ever change my mind, then I'm going to have to delete all these labels, and that can be a pain. I mean, you can do select similar, and it'll allow you to collect them all. All right, now I'll go ahead and do that one too. I'm not going to do the center line of the road till the very end, and I'll clean that up because I don't want too much information. All right. Now, the next thing I have to look at is, I'll just double check real quick, is looking at each of the lot lines. Here's that I forgot that one. I've got 25 and 26, so that's greater than 50. 50, 50, 50, greater than 100. 55, 57, 64, all the lengths are greater than 100. Greater than 100. At average, the middle, this one we might end up losing. It depends. So I'm going to do a distance. And usually most developers, or most, so I'm going to do nearest. Hold on. Most reviewing agencies is asking for what the average width is in the center of the lot. So this one's got a 50-foot area here, but it goes down. So we may end up turning this lot into a park area, okay, if we can't fit a house on it properly. Because one of these lots has to turn into park. I haven't set it yet, so this might be the lot to use. So I've got 155. Again, the center line needs to be, or it usually, sometimes they say at the offset line, the front offset, which ours is 20, has to be a minimum of 50 feet. So that's somewhere we'll be looking at. 50, 50, 50. All right, so it looks like all of our lots are set in proper size. Now we have to think about grading. Remember, the reason I set these points here is because I want these as my low points. I'm going to have a high point up here. I'm going to grade down and discharge into a set of inlets here. And I'm going to have a high point and grade and discharge into a set of inlets here. I'm going to set a high point here at that intersection, and I'm going to set a low point over here. So high point drains to the west, high point and then drains to the east, high point to the south, or I mean to the north. All right, so I have to think about the elevations. Now when I'm looking at this, I go ahead and look at the existing elevation that I have, and it's about at 85. And if I look at this point right here, I can go over to my add labels and look at my profile and station elevation. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to click to the end point here. And end point here. So that station is 1031.25, and it's 8468 is the elevation. All right. So we have to remember that because we're going to grade this all the way down. So we need to grade it down to this low point, and we have to think about, okay, we have 150 feet. We want to use 100 for the lot, and then we'll have 55 feet left to grade back to natural ground. So we can have the elevation in the 80s if we want, but here's the other problem. We have to get this point low enough that we only have 20 feet from the back of this right-of-way line down. So we need to bring it down to about a 75 at best, because right now we only have 20 feet, and 20 feet at a 4-to-1 gives me 5 feet of drop. And if I'm at a 74, the highest that I can be is at a 79. But I want to bring it down as quickly as possible. Okay, so I'd like to see it go to almost natural ground. The reason I'm also going to natural ground is because it's going to have, if I can follow the topography of the natural ground, because it's going high to low, then I don't have as much cut fill. So these are the things that I'm thinking as I do this. So I've looked at this and I said, all right, this is what I've decided. I'm going to put a 2% slope that goes from this point up here all the way down to this low point here. And then I'm going to take from this point, I'm going to go 1% this direction and 1% this direction. The reason I'm doing that is because I have to get the water around this curve, and having 2% and 2% all the way around tends to make this area in here really flat. So I need to make it 2%. All right, now I'm going to come over here and I've come up with some ideas. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and then I'm going to go to the next video to start the grading.